So today we are going to talk about understanding the tax reforms as a business owner in Nigeria. And so today we're going to do why this. We're going to first thing we're going to talk about is why this training matters, because a lot of people are ignorant of a what the tax entails and the advantages that we could get by keeping complying to the tax laws in Nigeria. So this training, the first thing you have to know that this training is not about making your life harder, or the government's here to extort your money, because that's the mentality that most Nigerians have, that the government is out there to take your money and all of that. But no, the government is actually trying to protect you, especially as a small business owner, and give your business structure, because as a business owner, every day you wake up and you just hustle, you go out, try to make a living, try to create a better future for yourself and for your family. So the government wants to, invest and key into carving out a better future for you. So let's look at Nigeria's tax system. So the Nigerian tax system has changed completely. So new laws were passed in June 2025, and by January 2026, Nigeria will enter a new era of how small businesses are identified, monitored, taxed, and supported. So these reforms affect everybody, not just big companies. Before, we all know, like, big companies, they are already used to paying tax. So that one is already know that. But now the tax law is going to, have an effect on everybody. It's applicable now to everybody, both the small businesses, even that kiosk by the side. We have both that seller that is working inside the shop and the barber in the kiosk, the lady frying food. No matter, even people that have just small shops in the market, no matter how small your business is, no matter how small your income is, now the law is going to apply to everybody. So now nobody is exempted from the law. So we're looking at why does this matter? Because a lot of people are ignorant of how this could, affect you, and how, like, what the advantage you could get from actually paying your tax. So because today in Nigeria, you cannot afford to run your business blindly anymore, because a lot of people have been running their business in whatever way they want. A lot of people don't know their profits. A lot of people don't know their turnover. A lot of people don't know how much expenses they make from the business that they run in day-to-day activities. So things are changing now. Now government now wants clear records. Now is not times where you sell something and you don't keep your receipts, or you throw away your receipts. These are not times for that. So now the government wants clear records, because taxes will now be easier to track, because now the NRS is now digitalizing everything. So everything is online, is on the system. So you can track your taxes from there. So people who are organized will have big advantages, a lot of advantages. And people who ignore these changes or people that refuse to go with the trend or what is happening now in the change in tax system will face penalties, obviously, and will lose opportunities. So here's the part where we want you to clearly understand. These reforms were not created to punish small business owners. They were created to protect and prepare you, because a lot of people have this idea that government wants to take their money, and especially with the whole thing that's happening in the country and how things are not really as we want them to be. The economy is obviously going through depression and all of that, but still the government still has our benefits at heart, and the government is trying to make especially small businesses to have structure and to protect them from unnecessary tax laws and tax harassment. So the new tax system will eventually check every active business. So it does not matter how small your business is, no matter how small your shop is. the government will check every type of business, both small businesses, both medium businesses, and both large businesses. So this information is not to instill fear in you, but it's just reality. It's just what's going to happen, and there's no two ways about it. So government is moving towards a system where every business will have an identity. That's your tax identification number, and then payments can be monitored digitally. Now you can pay digitally, and your payments can be also be monitored digitally. That's why you have to keep records. And then your receipts and transactions can now be verified, and then your turnover, which is the amount of money you get from the sales or you make every day, or the services that you render, the money that people pay to you every day, that's your turnover, will now be used to estimate your tax. Obviously, then now cash only businesses will become harder to hide. Because why? Because cash only businesses, you don't have any proof of that transaction. You don't have any record of that transaction, so the government cannot monitor that. So now it's very difficult to hide, because government will now work with records and proof. So if you prepare now, you definitely don't have a problem, because when the time comes, you have your records and proof of payments. So being structured gives you power. So when you understand taxes and when you keep records, you gain advantages, because you look professional. Aside the advantage you gain from, paying your tax as a citizen in the country, your business will look professional. People will want to invest in your business. You can walk inside a bank and then you can demand for a loan and be considered. I think from next year, if you don't have a tax identification number, you will not even be able to open a business account in a bank, because it's very, very, very important. And then you're going to win contracts, whether with private organization or with government organization. You're able to win contracts. You're going to have partnership, and then you're going to also apply for grants from the government. Now, if you don't have a tax identification number, you will not be able to, the government will not be able to give you grants. And then these grants, these loans that the banks and the governments are giving you, will help you to go from just a small artisan to a larger business personnel, something like that. So organized businesses now gain respect, and unorganized businesses will struggle quietly, because then you will not have the support that is needed to spoil your business on. So many small businesses will still not pay heavy tax, but you need to understand where you fall. So the thing about this, having information about tax, is that it does not mean that you are going to pay your tax. It does not mean that everybody is going to pay tax, but you have to register, and you have to keep records, and you have to have knowledge of where you fall, to know if you are exempted from paying tax or not. So this training will help you to know if you are exempted from paying tax, whether you will pay tax, how much tax you will pay, and how you can calculate your tax, and how you can also avoid penalties. And like we say, knowledge is power. With knowledge, nobody can intimidate you. With knowledge, nobody can just walk in and say they are government officials and they are about tax. No, once you have your records and you have your tax identification number, you'll be able to have the confidence to stand and talk for yourself. So business without records is like going on a journey without direction, definitely. So a lot of business people now, that if I approach them and ask them, how much did you make last month, they don't know, or they'll just give a guess. Or how much did you spend, they don't know anything about, they don't have a record of their expenses. Then what is your yearly profit? Of course, if you don't know what you make, you don't know what your profit is, or what exactly you do, and you probably don't know. So many businesses cannot answer these questions confidently. So if you don't prepare now, the system might catch you unprepared later, because people fear what they don't understand, obviously. And then when you understand the law and you know your rights, you'll be at peace. And so this training will give you clarity, to give you confidence, to guide you, to give you practical examples and basic tools you need to start immediately, tools that may not really need much to start up. So let's talk a little bit about the Nigerian Revenue Service. So this is the system or the body that replaced the Federal Inland Revenue Service now. So this body is in charge of registering taxpayers, is in charge of giving tax identification number, is in charge of collecting taxes, monitoring compliance, and using digital tools to track business activity and enforcing the law, of course, when necessary. So why the government created NRS? So the old system, like we said, had a lot of irregularities because there were lots of bodies. There was the federal body, we have the state, we have the local government, we had even tax people in the marketplaces, bus parks and all of that, charging. Even sometimes, most of the time, we have fraudulent tax people that just go out there. They don't have anything to do with tax, but they extort money from people and collect money from people. So these are one of the advantages that this new reform is bringing to the society. So this whole thing has caused confusion, delays, and different rules in different places, which is not right. And then people end up paying multiple payments of tax all over again because of they just get intimidated. So, and there's corruption, there's obviously lack of proper records because some people are even being fraudulent. So, and then this poses stress for business owners because sometimes when we go to markets, we see people just go around and collect money from market women. Most of themselves are not even from the right sources and all of that, but they extort money from these market people, which is wrong. So that's why you say this tax reform is going to give small business owners protection from fraudulent activities like this. So what NRS does for small business owners? For small business owners, NRS is not just a tax collector. They help you register your business. And then they provide digital tools and platforms for your business. They give you guidance on what tax you're supposed to pay. They provide simplified tax categories, and they promote awareness and education. They reduce harassment from multiple bodies, like I said. Then they protect registered businesses from illegal tax forces. So these are one of the advantages or the benefits that NRS provides for us. So what should you remember as a small business owner? So as a small business owner, there are things you should remember and know. And one is that there is now one tax agency, the Nigerian Revenue Service. So in case anybody just walk to you and say, this, I want to collect tax for you. If you have knowledge that there is no other system that's supposed to collect tax aside the Nigerian Revenue Service, you know that it's false. And with knowledge comes power and confidence. And so then you must have a tax identification number. That's once you register, you must have your TIN, your tax identification number. Your business transaction can be recorded digitally. Because now the NRS, they're digitalized. So all their processes are digitalized. So your records and everything, they're being recorded digitally. So the NRS will use technology, meaning things will be clearer, obviously. And then with registration and just simple record keeping, you have nothing to fear, because a lot of people, they feel like this is going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of work, a lot of professionality and all of that. But we just registering. And you could register online, or you could go physically to their office and register, or to any nearby place where such registration is being done and just register. So with this few things, you can just become a recognized business, a business that's protected and professional, and to open you to different opportunities. And then why knowing this matters for you? Once you understand this, you'll be able to know who to talk to. You'll know how to register and how to pay your taxes and things to avoid, and how to prevent illegal collections. Of course, if you're doing the right thing, you'll be able to prevent illegal collections. So now we're going to another thing that's very important, because it's not just knowing what this training is for or why it's needed. You also know how to actually put it in place. So who needs to pay tax and who is exempt? And by who is exempt, I mean who is not supposed to pay tax. So, and then what counts as a small business? Because it's very important to know if your business is a small business or not. So first, let's define who a taxpayer is. A taxpayer is anybody who runs a business, anybody who has a business, anyone who earns a profit regularly, anyone who sells goods or services, anyone who has a registered or unregistered business. So even if your business is not registered with CAC, as long as you have a business, you can register with an NRS and have a tax identification number. So anyone who is self-employed, anyone who employs others, and anyone with business income, whether big or small, that's a taxpayer. So the government now categorizes businesses by size. So the government now categorizes three different categories of business now. So we move from the micro and small businesses. These are mostly the small artisans and the young entrepreneurs. They fall in here. People like the tailors, the barbers, the hairdressers, the caterers, food vendors, and all. These people mostly might not be required to pay a tax under the law, but you must register and you must keep a records and be compliant, because that's the only proof you have to give to the government that you are exempted from paying tax. So we have the medium businesses. These are like growing baking companies. You see all these big bakery companies, then all these furniture factories, fashion houses, and small manufacturing units are still coming up. So these ones may have to pay a little or more tax, because I mean they're the medium businesses. Then they have the large businesses. Mostly businesses in this section have always been paying tax, so they just continue doing what they're doing. So we have the multinationals, we have the large manufacturing companies, we have the petroleum companies, and all of that. So these businesses will pay full corporate taxes and development levies. So let's look at who is exempt from major taxes. So if your business is small or your turnover is below 100 million annually, that's per year, your business may be exempt from tax, or will be exempt from tax. Then and the tax that your business will be exempt from is heavy corporate income tax, capital gains tax, education tax, IT levy, SNE levy, and many other high level taxes meant for bigger companies. But now I think the government have put this other from education tax downwards to, we now just have development levy to cover up all of that. So if the turnover for your business, the money you make every year for your business for sales is below 100 million, then you will not be paying corporate income tax. But if the money you make from sales is more than 100 million in a year, you'll be paying your corporate income tax and your development levy. So that's it. So what are you required to do even if you are exempted from tax? Because you will not say because you feel that your business is small, or you presume that your business is small, so you're exempted from tax, and then you just stay like that. No. So you have to register for your tax identification number, because government has to know your business, and your business has to appear in the system. So, and then you have to keep simple business records. So very important, because these are going to be proof that you have a small business and then you are exempted from the tax. And then you have to declare your status, obviously, so that the NRS knows that you're exempted. And then you have to stay compliant to avoid penalties. And obviously, if you register and you keep records and declare your status, then you be able to avoid penalties. So once you cross the threshold, your corporate tax begins. And then the threshold for corporate income tax, like I said, if you earn more than 100 million, you're going to, for per year, you're going to pay your corporate income tax. And if your fixed asset is more than 250 million, you're going to pay your corporate income tax. And when I mean fixed assets, I mean the equipment that you use in your business, like for instance, here we have our laptops, we have our chairs, we have our table and camera and every other thing that we have. If you calculate everything now here and it's more than 250 million, you have to pay your corporate income tax, and that's it. And then you must pay your corporate income tax at 30% of your profits. And then to calculate your profits, I've told you what your turnover is. Your turnover is the amount you get, the total amount sales you get from buying and selling of goods and services per year. So for you to get your profits, you have to subtract your expenses, the expenses you make. And by expenses, I mean maybe money used to buy data, buy fuel for your gen, buy lights, electricity, you buy your logistics and whatever thing you money you spend on the business, not your personal expenses for the business. So if you subtract that your expenses from how much you get from selling and providing services to people, you get your profits. And then your corporate income tax is 30% of that profit. And then you pay development levy, which is 4% of your profit. That's 34%. That's if you're eligible for paying your corporate income tax. So you do not pay 30% of your total sales. You pay only 30% of your profits. So the more you earn, the higher your tax ban is. So if I earn, let's say I earn 1 million and she earns 2 million, we're definitely not going to be paying the same tax. Her own is going to be more because she's earning higher than me. So that's why it's progressive. Pay as you earn. So it's from 0% for people that are not paying to 25%. So depends on how much you earn, but once your income, you earn more than 800,000 per year, you start paying. So that's for personal income tax. So record, we're going to the next one, very important, record keeping, receipts, and why they matter more than ever. Because this is Nigeria, a lot of people, even when we go to POS, once you're just getting the receipts, you can even trash it there. So that is not time for that kind of thing, because record keeping is your business life jacket. It's like a covering, it's like a proof that you're going to have. So a business without records, like someone working in the dark, seriously, you're not going to really making much out there right now. So what simple record should every artisan keep? So because definitely it's not really all record you're going to keep in that. Definitely record you're going to be keeping. So money that comes in, very important. The money that comes in, your sales, your income. Let's say you're a barber, you have a barber salon, you barb someone's hair, barb like 10 people hair a day. By the end of the day, you should be able to write how much you got from barbing those 10 people's hair. You should be able to keep that record, even if it's 500, even if it's 50 naira, whatever, how much you've made that day, you should be able to write it down. Even if it's POS or transfer payments, you should be able to keep those records. If they have receipts, or now you could just make receipt or something, even if it's receipts online, bank transfer, you have to keep the receipts. So another thing you have to take record of is money that goes out. Expenses is very important. And when I say expenses, I mean expenses for the business, not expenses of I want to buy food and eat, not that one. Not personal expenses, business expenses. So things like repairs, staff, salaries, data, and airtime for business, stuff like that. And then another thing you have to take record of is your business assets. What you own in your business. Things like sewing machine for tailor shop. Then you have generators, hair dryers, and freezers. Just all the equipment that you need or you have to run the daily activities of your business. You have to, keep record of them, receipts. If you buy things like this, you should not, it's not when you buy stuff like that, even though most people already do that, you keep the receipts for evidence, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to prove to the government that your assets are not up to 250 they're not more than 250 million, because once they're more than 250 million, you start paying your corporate income tax. So what does non-compliance look like? And by non-compliance, I mean not following the law and not doing what you're supposed to do as a taxpayer. So what does non-compliance even mean? Non-compliance simply means running a business without following the basic rules, not registering, not keeping simple records, not even having a tax number. So not declaring your business size, not having receipts or proof of transactions, mixing your personal money with business money, refusing to provide information when required, not updating your business details, and not filing your simple annual declaration. So if you're not adhering to all these things, especially right from not registering and keeping records, you're not complying, and this could come with fines and penalties. So the biggest risk of non-compliance, we have the biggest risk of non-compliance, which is wrong tax classification. Because the truth is that if you just stay like that and you don't comply, you don't register, you don't keep records, the government is not just going to remain like that too. The government is going to make estimates, and they're going to estimate based on anything. It could be based on your location, based on your lifestyle. They're just going to just make a number out of anything that deems it fit for them, and then just give you. You might be in a small business threshold, and they could charge you based on a medium business threshold, and that would be very bad for you. So if you cannot prove you are a small business, governments may classify you as a medium business, like I said, or even a large business. That means 30% corporate tax, 4% development levy. Imagine being a small business and then you have to pay 30% from the small money you're making out of your business. That would be really bad. And all of this unnecessary stress simply because you could not just show that you are small. It's very uncalled for. So your records are your protection. So that's why you have to take your record keeping very important. And now you don't have to wait till you have an accountant. You don't have to wait till you know how to use Excel, the computer, and all of that. You could just use a simple book and pen to just write down the goods and then the description. Simple. Any way you want to put it, as long as the amount shows there and all of that. And consistency is another thing, because you have to be consistent, because there should be a level of honesty in what you're showing to the government. So the good news is that compliance is very easy. You don't need an accountant, you don't need a lawyer, you don't need a laptop degree, English grammar. You can just do it the simple old-fashioned way and get it over with. So what you should do now is a step-by-step action plan for every artisan and young entrepreneur. So now you understand why this training matters. Now you understand why it's very important for you to pay your tax. Now you understand that government is not just out there to rip you of your money. The government wants to help you. Wants to give your business structure and protect you from fraudulent tax people that are roaming over the place. So what happens when you cross threshold and why record keeping is open? Now you can grow your business with confidence, because now you don't have fear. You don't have fear that one government person will come in and embarrass you or harass you, because now you know the law. You don't just know the law. You are keeping to the law. You have your records, which is your backbone and all of that. So now you have no fear, no guesswork. You're not guessing. Now someone can just walk and ask you, how much are you making for your business? So how much is your profit? And you'll be able to just look at your records and tell the person. Even as a business person, at the end of the month, you're able to assess yourself and know if you're actually gaining or losing this business, which is very important. I really don't know why somebody will be running a business actually without knowing how much you're gaining or how much you're losing. As a business person, I really don't know what the person is actually doing. But there'll be no confusion, no harassment, no mistakes, no wrong tax assignments. Definitely. So I just want to thank everybody for listening to me, and I just want to also say a few words, because you understand the way the country is, how hard things are, to issues of insecurity, because sometimes we could feel that the government is failing us or has failed us. But I just want to let you know that tax is not really a way to that the government is trying to punish us or maybe take our money or some sort of way, because that's like the mindset that a lot of Nigerians have, you know, especially for small businesses that are still struggling. But if you can look at the threshold that the government has given for a business to actually make up to more than 100 million a year, that's a lot. So the government is also trying to protect small businesses, because um, the tax band before you get to 100 million is it's actually a lot. So for you to actually have up to more than 100 million, you're actually making profits in that business. So the government is even being considerate here, you know, and the government is also even trying to make large businesses to be able to, I mean, as a way of corporate social responsibility, to be able to pay back to the society and pay back to other people that have been trying to move their business forward. So I'd like to encourage everybody to go and register and get your tax number, and from today start to keep records. If you have a business, start to keep good records of your assets, of your expenses, of your sales. And it's not, government doesn't want to stress you. Just if you do it every day consistently, you get used to it, and it will also help you as a business, and your business will grow, and one day you become a large business and you start paying us our 30%. Thank you.
We are not business people, we are security. So how did the tax will affect us, or how do we pay the tax?
See, that's why we have what we call a personal income tax. So even as a security, you're being paid salary, and that's your income. So if you now there is a threshold, if your salary for a year, for annually a year, is more than 800,000, you are supposed to pay tax. But if your salary is less than 800,000 in a year, you're not supposed to take tax. And your tax, the tax you pay will be depending on how much your, like I gave an instance of, if I'm earning 1 million and she's earning, let's say, 2 million, we're not going to pay the same tax. So your tax band or tax, the rate you're going to pay will not be the same thing with somebody that is earning much more money. But once your income, the salary you're being paid for a year is more than 800,000, you're supposed to pay tax. And then you're supposed to either go to the office or go online or any place you can register. Once you have your BVN and your NIN, and then you're supposed to register and have your tax identification number. Because as a citizen, everybody, both the employer, the business owner, and the employee, everybody is supposed to pay their tax.
So I want to ask my own question is prior to now, what we know about salary earners is that I start to be corrected. Their tax is being deducted from like the organization they work for pays their tax for them. I don't know if that is still valid or we have to pay individually now.
I think yes, that's still valid. Yes, now organizations still pay a tax from your gross income. That's your gross income is the amount of money salary that you earn before all the deductions is made, not from your net income. So the company or whatever organization you're working for, just the way they'll take out your pension and all of that, they'll tax it. Once you're working with a company that has a HR body and they do all the necessary things and all of that, definitely once they get your salary, they will remove your tax immediately.
You said this, I remember something that happens in my office last week about these tax expenses. One of our managers said that our payment is high, but because they are removing the tax from our salary, they are deducting it. So those deductions that they are taken out of our salary, now they are talking of individuals should be paying tax. What of if government will come for clarification or for evidence of payments as we present to show them that we paid?
When an organization is paying for your tax, but for any organization that pays, when they pay you, as far as I know, they will give you a pay slip. For most organizations, they give you a pay slip, and with that pay slip, there's a list of all the deductions that they've taken for your salary. So in that pay slip is now your own record and your own proof that you are paying your tax. And just in case in an environment, a work environment where that pay slip is not actually being provided or given, now people can now go to their organization and demand for proof that you've been deducting this money from my salary, because that one's now between your employer and the government. Except is in an work environment where that system is not put in place and you're now the one paying by yourself. Of course, once you pay, you're supposed to have receipts and proof, and that's why the NRS is now making it digital. So all the records are there, your proof of payment is there, so you already have proof. But if it's an organization that is paying that tax for you, you should, if they don't have a pay slip that they give you when they pay your money, then they should be able to employees should be able to demand for pay slips from their employer, so that they can see proof of payment of tax from there. And once the government sees that the organization is paying your tax, then that's your record. You don't have anything. You can really prove that you're paying your tax.